Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. My name is Joe Salemi. I'm with DynaSCAPE Software. And thank you for joining us for the next installment of the Manage360 Masterclass, where we're working to help you get the most out of your landscape business operating system. And today, we're at webinar number 11, and it's going to be all about scheduling. We have the great one and only Fabio Ronconi, our implementation and training specialist, with us today to take us through Manage360's scheduling capabilities. And really, this session is going to be about absolutely everything that you can do with scheduling for landscape jobs and visits. So the schedule in Manage360 is more than just a calendar. And you're going to be able to learn all about how you can utilize the schedule to make sure you're staying on top of your work. And why do we want a schedule? It's really about getting efficiencies and making sure that there's structure to a day and to a job. Software significantly reduces the likelihood of errors. Schedules can optimize a day's route for maintenance kind of services. It makes sure that jobs or visits don't get missed, so nothing slips through the cracks. A good piece of advice is not to overload the day's timesheet for the crew. With a schedule, it helps you keep score and the ability to communicate it. On the schedule with a job, you can have the estimated hours and what they've actually used to date. And another good piece of advice that a landscape owner told to me was to stagger crew rollouts and returns. And you just are able to reduce traffic jams. So it all goes towards scheduling efficiencies. I think this is probably a really good time to dive right in. So I'm going to pass it over to Fabio. And Fabio, you can take it away.
Thanks, Joe. Let me just get my screen going here. All right. Welcome, guys. Like Joe was saying, today we're going to focus on the scheduling component of 360. Now, there's also the routing. So scheduling and routing, often they go together. But we're going to kind of split the master classes out. Today we're going to focus on the calendar, the schedule part, how that works. And then next week, Jordan will be doing the routing part, so the actual creation of routes, because that's kind of, you can create routes and just how that works outside of scheduling them. This way you'll know how to schedule things even if they don't have routes or schedule route occurrences, but we're going to keep that separate. So next week we'll be then just going over the routing component. So at the end of the day, you'll have two kind of distinct sessions, scheduling and routing on there. So today, welcome again. We're going to look at the calendar. Like I said, mainly, and that's under the production and scheduling area. We'll go into there. So like Joe was saying, we're going to look at what's been scheduled. So what has been placed on the calendar, what's been scheduled already. It could be via route, could be via like an individual work order. We can see how our construction jobs are kind of scheduled, start end on there as well. But basically, that's what the calendar is going to show you. Now, from within the calendar, we're going to look at the different components of the calendar itself. There's a couple panels on each side, which we're looking at, and then how the different types of things look on the calendar itself, so you know what information you have, what you're getting, and again, how you can add things to the calendar, how you can move things around on the calendar as well, and what is the kind of end goal of that. And again, to tie back to a couple previous master classes, the idea by doing this, like Joe was saying, schedule it, get it set up, because then when it's time to do the work, I make a timesheet based on what I've scheduled. Timesheet gets created based on that, and then it's already there, and I can add stuff initially, but at least it gives you an idea of what's supposed to happen when I make the timesheet. Then it's already, everything I need is already there as well. So I'm going to go to the calendar first, kind of go over it, and then go into a couple different parts. So the first thing I'm going to do from here is to go into the calendar. Now, like I said, it's accessed under the production menu under scheduling. So you go to production, scheduling, brings you to the calendar on here as well. So the basic, kind of talk about the basic layout of the calendar. Like I said, there are 2 panels on each side. On the left-hand side, we have the crew picker panel, and on the right side, we have the queue, which is work orders and route occurrences that are not yet scheduled. That's why they're in the queue, they're not on the calendar yet. Now, we'll go over those as well. Now, you'll notice that depending on your screen size, these may open up collapsed. If you come to the calendar, you notice you don't see either side, there is a little double arrow on the top where you can expand the size of it as well. Now, you can also resize it if you want as well to a specific size that you like. If you want it wider or not, you can do that as well to a certain size on there. Same thing with the other side, you can do that as well. So those are there. Now, the calendar in the middle, and we'll go into those in more detail in a second, it's pretty straightforward. You've probably seen it in other calendars as well. We have 3 different views: month view, 7-day week view, day view on there as well. And then within the calendar itself, at the top, you can click on today to go to whatever view you're looking at that contains today's date. You can click on the date picker to choose a different date. So now we're in April. Or you can use the next to go, in this case, because we're in the month view, month to month to month to month, or if I'm having the week or day view, I can go next week, previous week, using those buttons as well. And finally, obviously, there's this little refresh button here where this will refresh the calendar, because again, when you're looking at it, if you add stuff, it automatically refreshes. But if you're looking at it and something else has happened, you're on a different screen doing things, and you come back, the calendar, if you want to make sure you get the latest, you can refresh it by clicking this button right over here as well. Now, let me just go back to here. So I'm in May on here as well. Depending on what it looks like, if I go to the week view on here as well, so you see I'm in the week of May 30th here. I can click on today, or I can click on this button, click on today button, and it'll take me to the week that contains today's date. So if you're on the calendar and you notice this red line, that is simply today now. So it's today's at this time. So you'll see it on the week view, you'll see it on the day view as well. If you have it, just that's what it's indicating. That's what the current time and date is on there as well for that. Now, you notice again, you can go back and forth and it just will switch, no problem. The other thing that you'll see here is there's nothing currently on my calendar. So part of the calendar relies on, I need to know what crew am I showing you, not just everything on there. So this is where the panels on the left and the right come in. So I'm going to expand the crew picker first. Pretty straightforward. Click on the expansion here. Now, again, the way it's kind of grouped is division, and then supervisor, and then crew. So if you have multiple divisions, each division will be listed there, and then each supervisor within division, and then each of the crews on there as well. Now, if you want to select an entire division, you can click on the division name, and all of the crews in that division will be highlighted. Now, just you notice here another thing we have. So you'll notice that the irrigation crew is here and here. So in the settings, we've allowed, so a single crew can be assigned to multiple divisions. So in order to handle that over here, it shows up in both divisions, but if I pick it, I will get to the same crew. It'll highlight in both spots on there as well. So you can see when you pick it, if those crews in particular have things assigned on the calendar we're looking at within the date range, they'll be highlighted. I can select a supervisor. If I click on the division again, it will unselect on there as well, and you can select individual crews as well. Like you don't have to select by the division or the supervisor. Now, the other thing that's very important here, that's very useful here, is the color. So in the settings, each crew has a color, then you can assign that, and on the calendar, you can see that. So you know when I'm looking at maintenance crew 1, everything is in gray. So if I'm looking at multiple crews, the color indicates which crew this item, whatever it's a work order or a timesheet or a route occurrence or a construction job, whatever it is, the color indicates to which crew it belongs on there as well. Now, and you can collapse it as you need. Now, the good thing, if you hover over the crew names, it tells you, number one, the foreman of the crew and the members. If the foreman of the crew has contact information, then you'll see it there, whether it's email or if it's a cell phone or home phone, you'll see it listed right in the pop-up as well on there. Now, if you don't want to have the crew thing always open, if your screen is smaller, you don't need that. The good thing with the crew picker is you minimize it all of the crews are still there. We don't have the hierarchy with the divisions anymore, but all the crews are there. So if you know the crews by the color, you can still just click on the crews and select them, and it works exactly like if I had gone in there as well. So you can tell, and again, also hovering tells you, again, the foreman and the crew members also that we have on there for that. Now, so again, that's one of the key things with this as well. When you're looking at the calendar, if you can't find what you're looking for, you can't see anything at all, it means you don't have any of the crews on there. Like, you need to have at least a single crew picked. Now, when the crew selected to get all the calendars, so I go again, I'll just do this one for example, these couple here. In any view I have, the month view, I go to the week view, I go to the day view, they're all there. Now, in the day view, when you have crews selected, each crew has their own column. So if you have multiple crews you want to kind of look at for a single day, you will see what each crew is doing on that day. And it makes it very simple to kind of escape, what is this crew doing today? And then go the next day, what they're doing tomorrow, what they're doing the following day. So you can see what each crew specifically has on a single day, because each crew has their own column. Now, this will come into play later when I kind of talk about the scheduling, because you can drag things from the queue onto a specific crew, and it knows exactly who you're going for. So the day view, when you have multiple crews, the day view gives you a snapshot of what they're doing on that day. Now, the other two views, week and month, they will also show you everything else that's on there, but instead of having this week view, everything is combined. If I go to the month view, again, everything is combined. That's where the colors become useful. Now, so again, if you hover over stuff as well, it'll pop up and give you some details about what the particular item is also. But again, when you have multiple crews, the week and the month view are a combination of everything that's on there. So you can, if you have a lot of things scheduled, many things, you may have overlapping for have 3 crews going out at the same time or the same day. That's fine. You'll see all the stuff kind of stacked on there. And then that's why kind of drilling down sometimes to the specific day is very useful, because then you can go in there and then each crew will be segregated and separated, so you can see specifically what they're doing as well on there. Now, I'll come back to this as well, but the other thing to note is on the day and the week view, you also have a time on the side. The month view obviously doesn't, because it's combining a lot of information in there, but the day and the week views have the time on the side, which again, this will come into play later when I show you can drag things to a specific time and a specific crew as well on there. Now, I'm going to open up the queue. So again, this is now showing us what these crews already have assigned for them on those days. Now, if I go to the queue and expand the queue part of it, it's quite large here. The queue itself is kind of broken up into 3 distinct sections. There are kind of 3 main ways to find things that are not scheduled. There's a search, which I'm just, again, just type in what you want to search for. Now it searches by the name of the service. So I go into here. You can search by service, or part of the name of the service. You can just search by that. It'll find you. These are the visits that have that service. You can also search by the account name as well, by the name of the account. You can also search by the account address. If you know the street or the city, that will also work as well. If you know the job number, you can search by the job number also. So again, it's just for searching for something specific. You can use this search if you're looking for some particular client or something. You can find that directly right in the search view there as well. And when they're here, and we'll talk about these cards in a second as well, but you'll see the same cards in the different views that we're looking at. Now, that's a search. I can clear this out and I can go back and refresh it, or I can search for something specific. Again, like I said, name, service name, account address, job number, all that kind of stuff is available for searching as well. Now, the other 2, there's a search, then we have the unassigned and the unscheduled. Now, they're similar. The biggest difference, obviously, the unassigned means these are items, work orders, route occurrences that have a date. So somehow these have been dated. We may have put a date on them, but no one has been assigned to do them. So when I make timesheets, they're never going to pop up on anyone's timesheet because they have no crew assigned. That's what unassigned means. So you can see these ones do have a time here, but there's no crew on them. Now, while we're here, as you can see it here as well, a couple things with the colors. So any cards that you see when you're searching, when you're an unassigned or when you're an unscheduled, any cards that are this kind of light, this red, those are route occurrences. All of the other ones that are white, those are visits or work orders on there as well. So again, if you notice that, you can see that it clearly indicates this is a route occurrence here on there. Now again, so this is the route name. You'll see that. But if you don't have any of the pink, then there's no route occurrences on there. But that's another thing that will show up in this queue, unassigned. So unassigned has a date but no crew. Now unscheduled is any of the ones that do not have a time. They may or may not have a crew, but they don't have a time. They've not been scheduled to be done yet on there. So again, there's a lot more of the ones on here as well. Now, I want to go over a little bit of the filtering here. So on the search, you're going to search by the unassigned and the unscheduled in order to help you find what you're looking for, or you're looking for something specific. If you want to look for a specific services, within an area or something, these two have the filter button up at the top here as well. So again, this is very, very useful for narrowing down this search. So if I go over here, click on it, again, I can filter by division, I can filter by service category, and if I want to look for something in a specific category, click on that, and then I can apply the filter, and then it'll automatically find, again, if there are any unscheduled visits within that filter. And then again, just like in other parts of Manage, the filter icon being orange indicates that a filter is currently being applied. So, and you can filter by category, you can filter by service, the start and end date. These are contract start and end dates. So if you're near the end of the year and you started renewing contracts and you don't want to get them all mixed up into here, you can say only show me visits that are part of a contract that ends by this date or that starts after this date. You can use those as well. Region, very, very useful as well. Again, this ties all the way back to the accounts. When you make an account, you can assign regions from the settings. Very, very useful here. If you're looking to do spring cleanups in a specific region, you can use this and help to narrow that down as well. Who the supervisor, if you have crews assigned, you can look for ones that are assigned to specific crews. And then the last one so far here, show, like I said before, it would be a mix of route occurrences and visits, but if I only want to see one or the other, I can just say, just show me the route occurrences only. Don't care about the visits or work orders, just route occurrences, and you can pick those as well. So you can see both of those things available. Now, and you can combine these easily. Like I said, you can also add multiple into the same thing. So, and again, you can scroll, but you can also type. Like I said, and it's very good at searching. Like it as you're typing, it narrows down what you're looking for. So I want fall cleanup, great, but I also want a specific region in here as well. Apply filter. Okay, so I have one currently unscheduled fall cleanup in this region as well. Now, when we're in there, I want to talk about kind of what you can do now. Now, when you find them, like what can you do with these visits, or what can you do with these route occurrences? What's the idea of the ones that are on there? Now, I talked a little bit about the shaded, again, if you see, and unassign any of the tabs here, if you see one that's shaded red, that is a route occurrence versus a work order on there as well. Now, what do you see on these cards as well? So what information are you seeing on the card? Basically, and I'll look at both. When you're looking at the card, clear, this is a work order. You'll see the account name, you'll see the service name. The icon over here on a work order, the icon is tied to the sub-statuses on there. So again, in the settings, you can create your own work order sub-statuses, and that's what the icon is. Green means open. It's an open sub-status. Now, that icon can turn red. Now, I'm just going to quickly clear this filter, and I'm going to pop into the unassigned here, so you can see I have the same icon, but it's red. So all that, what that, if you ever notice a red icon, that means that that work order, in this case, it's obviously from 2017, that work order is still open, but it's been scheduled for the past. So it hasn't been done. So another thing to note, that's what the color, and you'll see that on the calendar as well. If I scheduled this for last week and it never gets marked as complete, the work order never gets closed, it's going to start showing a red icon on the calendar as well. So that's what the red icon means in there as well. Now, the other things that are on the card, like I said, substatus, there's a link here. So again, if you want to open the work order or the route occurrence in a new tab, you can do that by clicking on the link as well. It has the date and time. If it's there, if it's not there, it'll say unscheduled. And it also has a crew drop down, again, that you can potentially use this as well. And it has a duration here as well. So you'll see some of them have durations here. The duration is based on when we made the estimate. And again, when we made for the work orders, when we made the estimate, we said this is going to take this many man hours. When that estimate turns into a job, what it does is it calculates based on a default crew size in that division. This will take about 30 minutes. It's not man hours, that's duration now as well. If it's a route occurrence on there, the route occurrence has the total duration. So if I have a big route occurrence, like with multiple stops, that's going to be a longer duration than a single work order. But that's what that is there. And again, it's useful to kind of when you're adding it to the calendar. Now, that may change, the duration may change when I put it on the calendar because I may have given it to a crew that has more or less members than my default, so it'll try and recalculate that, say, well, now that I only have 2 members, it's going to take a little bit longer to do as well on there. And there's also the duration, the region as well. So both, whatever tab you're looking in, search, unassigned, unscheduled, all that information is visible there. Now, in the unscheduled tab, all the icons will be green because they don't have a date. So even though they need to schedule them, they're not in the past yet, so they're still green on there. Now, I'm just going to go back to that fall one here. Let's click this, go to service, cleanup, in that region. And like I said, you can add multiple regions as well here. You can add multiple items. So you can see, okay, I'm on there. Now, when you do that, like I said, when you go in there, how do I get these onto my calendar? Like, how do I say, now that I found these things, what are the ways to get these on the calendar? I need to do these. I want to get some fall cleanups going this week, next week, tomorrow on there as well. How do I do that? So basically, the simplest way is to, you can see my icon turns into a move icon with the 4 arrows. Take these and drag them onto the calendar as well. Now, a couple notes about the dragging, just so you know what's going to happen when you do it. If you're in week view or month view or day view with nobody, if I have no one selected, so if I turn off all my crews here, so if I do this and I try to drag something to my calendar, I'm going to get a message saying doesn't know who it's for, so I need to assign it, have a crew on my calendar. Now, I will also get potentially the same message if I have multiple crews selected. So if I have multiple crews selected here, then I may also get the same message, because when I'm on the week or month view, when I'm looking at multiple crews, again, it doesn't know which crew specifically I'm looking at. So again, this is where that day view comes in very handy there as well for that. So again, if I know specifically the crew, if I have only one crew here, I can drag it on and it will assign it to that crew automatically. This is like, so I'll take it, say I wanted to give it to maintenance crew 1 on May 10th, take it, put it on May 10th, and I can also pick the time because the time of the side, I do that, and then there. Now that's been assigned. You can see the time now changed because it says, oh, this particular crew knows how many people it has on there, maintenance crew 1. There's 2 people, so it's going to take you longer with only 2 people on there as well. So it does that. And again, gray, that's the color. The icon, that's the open substatus, and it's green. And again, here's the information, including the name, the visit, city, and the region is here as well. So again, that is the simplest way to do it. Now I'll go to the day view as well. If you go to the day view, same kind of thing. If I have 2 crews, now because I have 2 crews now, the good part is that I can go to the 10th, I can take one and just drag it to a specific crew. Now, because each crew is a separate column, I can take it and put it on there, and there. Now I have a second one done, and say, and then I can drag them like this. Again, so dragging them on, easiest way to get them to the calendar. Now, another pretty simple way as well to do it, like I said, if you don't want to be dragging them on there as well, to do that is to use these drop downs right over here. You can do the exact same thing. Now, just to show us, so this shows me the crews that I can assign it to because it's in the maintenance division. These are my crews I can choose from. And then I can also choose the date as well on there. Now, if I happen to have maintenance crew 2, I'm in the week view, I have maintenance crew 2 turned off. And I decide, yeah, I'm going to give this one to maintenance crew 2. So I can still give it to them even though they're not visible because I'm not dragging it on there. But when I do this, I'll choose maintenance crew 2. It's fine. And I'll click here. I'll say May 10th. Sure. And I'll say at 9:15 there. So now, when you use the drop downs on the side, it disappears firstly from there. But because I wasn't looking at maintenance crew 2, it now will add maintenance crew 2 to my view. So I can see, oh yeah, this is what you just did. I'm going to add maintenance crew 2 to what you're currently looking at. So now I see, oh, okay, this is what I did here. Okay, maybe I have a bit of an issue here as well. So if I want to, again, like I say, the gray and the blue, that's fine because different crews, but I can see there might be some overlap. So if I go into the day view for May 10th, now I can see, okay, I need to potentially reschedule these. Now, a very simple thing to do, once you're on here already, if you take it and you go into the top left corner, you can just drag these visits around on here as well. You don't have to open them up, you can just move them around. And then also, again, if you want to, in the day view, now you can drag them across different days in the day, in the week, in the month. That will keep the crews. If you want to give it to a different crew, if you're looking here trying to plan ahead and you're kind of say, I have too much on one crew, I need to add this to the other crew, you can take this top left corner, take it, drag it over here. Now it's been assigned to that crew now as well. And again, so it takes a bit longer because this crew has 2 people, this crew has 3 people on there as well. So you can definitely, like I said, you can definitely take those. Once they're on the calendar, you can drag them around. You can switch between crews depending on what view you're looking like on there as well. Now, I'm going to just take a couple of these off. Now, another thing we can show as well, another way to this, if I want to unschedule, so I can't drag this off the calendar. Say I don't want to schedule this one anymore. I want to take it off the calendar. If I click on it, I will get a pop-up indicating this is a work order and all the details about it. There's a link to get into the work order as well. If I want to open the whole thing up in a new tab, I can get into the account over here as well. But also I have a starting and a crew drop downs also on this pop-up. So I can change the date, no problem on here. I can also change the crew on here as well. So now if I need to take it off, I can unassign the crew and I can also clear the date if I want to do that as well. So I can clear both things. When I save and close this, it's now going to come off of the calendar. In this case, I refresh my search. It's now back in the queue, so I can reschedule it again as well on there. So again, once they're on there, you can, like work orders, routes, you can pop them open and see the details and reassign them as well. You can definitely drag it around, just that you cannot drag it off the calendar yet, so you have to use that to get it off there as well for that. Now, another option here, or another thing you can do, so if I'm looking at my queue, another thing here on the queue is this, is the green plus ones. I'm gonna clear my filter right now, just for a second. Clear that filter, I'll come back to that. But another option is right here in the green plus button here as well. So for that, this allows me to also, again, it's not, the things that are not in my queue, they're not in my queue yet, but I want to add them to the calendar. So this is used for 2 main purposes. Click on this. This allows me to get both, or either a brand new work order that's not yet been made, or a route occurrence that I haven't scheduled yet. I have to schedule a route occurrence. I need to get it on there as well. So the route occurrence option can be useful for if down the line we're doing things like snow and I need to get multiple route occurrences out at the same time. This will allow me to schedule more than one at the same time. I'll go through both options here so you can see what they're like on there. But the new work order, again, this is adding a brand new work order, one that's not already in the queue, it's not already been created. So I want to do some, it could be an additional work, could be an extra visit, something like that. Click on it here. Now, this process is very similar to our normal, I want to make a new work order process on there as well. So again, I do have to tie it to an account. Now, I'll search this account here, and again, you search by account, last name, first name, contact name. It just searches the same way on there. Now, it gives you the results, accounts. Now, the good part about this, one of the best parts here is when I saw, okay, this is the correct account. When I select the account, it's now going to show me, oh, by the way, you have, this person has a couple open jobs, open maintenance type jobs already. Is this going to be part of those jobs? So if it's something that we already have maintenance package going, or we already have a maintenance job, and I want to add in an additional visit on there as well, it can be a T&M, it can be an existing as needed on demand. You can do that by clicking on the jobs, or you can open up a brand new, this is totally separate, we're going to bill them separately, it's a separate non-contract, just T&M work on there as well. So you can choose either one of these. Now, I'll say, yeah, it's going to be part of this, our ongoing maintenance thing, and then I guess one of the advantages of that is when I bill it, it's going to be billed as part of that job. So I click on the job, and again, now there knows, oh, that job, here's what you have. Is it one of these ones? Like, again, I could be an as needed or on demand that I want to create here. Do that. Or again, I can also add an additional straight T&M, time material visit, to this as well. Now, again, I won't go through the whole process here because, again, this is just now it's just like creating a work order, and then when I make it, I can schedule it from there and it'll automatically be added to the calendar if I choose a date and time and a crew on there. But like I said, it allows you to make a work order that doesn't currently exist. When you're looking at the calendar, you can do it right from there as well on there. Now, the route occurrences, also from the green plus button here, the route occurrences, now I said, this is now going to show me, okay, these are your current active routes that you have. Which one do you want to schedule? Now, you can schedule one, clicking on the single one. You can schedule all of them by selecting that. Now, again, there's also a filter button you can use to filter by service. Like I said, if you have a snow category or snow service specifically, you can find that and select all those snow ones and then schedule them all at once. So I can have multiple routes being added at the same time on there. You can also search here, like if you're looking, I only have 3, but if you search, you can find the ones and it'll find the one you want. And again, then you can select all for the specific ones. You can use the filter or you can search for specific routes. Now, when you do that, you can hit next. So you have to have at least one selected. When you hit next, then it's going to want you to create those occurrences. Now, when you do that, it's going to make the visits for those occurrences if they're not already made, schedule them all, assign them to the crew. Again, if you have multiple ones, then each one will have a date and time. They can all go together if they have to. Like if it's a snow thing, we're all going at this time of the day, and they each can have their own crew. Now, when I do it, again, the time defaults to the next. So now it's 3 o'clock Eastern, so it's gone to 4 o'clock on there as well. It's just because that's the next full hour. You can dial it back, whatever. You can change that if you need to as well, and then you can pick a crew on here. Now, let's just say I'll make it for the 13th on there as well for that. Now, you can make it just with the create button, and it'll make the route occurrence and schedule it. And then later, when you go to make the timesheet for that day, it'll pick it up. But if you want to do both things at the same time, I want to make it and I want the same time, I want to get the timesheet made for that day as well, you can create it with the timesheets option here. So I'll do that one. I'll click on create with timesheet here. So it's going to make that route occurrence. Route occurrence is made. It's going to schedule all the things on there. Now, I'm going to pop out of my calendar, go to my week view here. Now I'm going to go to next week again because I made the 13th. So basically, you can see now I have 2 timesheets for that crew on that day as well. So you can't move timesheets on there for that. Let me just go and pop into one of these timesheets here. Get rid of this guy. So you can delete the timesheet. Don't need, I was making multiple timesheets on there. Refresh this view. So I have a timesheet, and again, I can have this. I'm going to take this visit and move it over here for a second. So I have my timesheet. Now again, on the calendar, it makes a timesheet here. Now, if I'm in my queue, or from my queue, if I'm looking at my queue, or if I have work orders on here. So if I go, for example, I'm going to go to my unscheduled, and I'm going to go to filter for the cleanup, fall cleanup, and I'm going to filter for the same region as before, just so I can see those. So if I find one here, now if I also want, so again, the timesheet shows what they're doing. If I want to add anything else to that, I can take this and I can drag it onto that same day as well. Now, because the thing here, because I have a timesheet, so I'll take this and drag it. And again, I have two, the message, I have two crews selected, so it doesn't know which one. So if I unselect the gray, and I can do it now, so only the blue. I do that, now you notice that it went on there, and then it refreshed, and now it is on my timesheet. So when I already have a timesheet made, and I can do the same, I can take this one, and I can drag this one over here as well. And it refreshes, and now it's on there also. So whenever you're dragging stuff onto the calendar and the timesheet already exists, we will then take it, schedule, then realize, okay, now add it to the timesheet. I don't have to go back and add it to the timesheet afterwards. It's going to combine it with the existing items on there for that timesheet. So again, because at the end of the day, you want to have one timesheet for the, what is this crew doing for the day, and like I said, you can drag things on, and it'll automatically add it to the existing timesheet as well on there. Now, a couple more things with just the items on here. So on the calendar itself, so this is a timesheet. I'll just show the example here. So the timesheet, again, it'll say timesheet in the top. That's what that indicates. The icon here is two things. It indicates the status of the timesheet. The gears indicate in progress. So this timesheets, again, have in progress, ready for approval and approved. This icon will change based on that. And the 6 is the number of visits on this timesheet as well. So that's kind of information you get from that icon. If I click on a timesheet, I can see it. I can see all the visits. I can see what the service is, what the account is, and the address of that as well on there. I can click on the date to get to that timesheet, and I can see the status of the employees. Any of these are also links if I want to get to the account, want to get to those specific work orders, I can do that as well on there. Now, it's going to go back to the previous week. I'm going to pop open the gray crew as well. Just going to show you a couple other things on here. So again, this is a timesheet as well. Timesheet, this one's ready for approval. This is a route occurrence on here. So the route occurrence has the route occurrence name and the icon indicating how many stops are on that occurrence. Now, again, with the red, this is saying this route occurrence, it has open visits on it, and it was scheduled for yesterday, May 8th. So that's why it's telling me, that's why that indicator is red there as well. And if I click on the route occurrence, pop it open, same kind of a deal. I can reschedule it right from here. I can drag the route occurrence around if I want to. I can reschedule it from here. I can click on this to get to the route occurrence, and I can also see the visits that I currently have on that particular occurrence as well. And if I make changes, I can save and close it. If I want to unschedule it, totally take it off and remove all of the occurrences on there, I can. Now again, it's saying this for yesterday. I can't delete it. I can reschedule it as well on there. But you can reschedule it to a different day, and it'll move the entire occurrence to that day also on there. So route occurrences, timesheets, and lastly, what we have on the calendar is the work orders. And again, like I said, you can click on the work order, have the work order name with the icons, and I've looked at before. I can reschedule the work orders from here. I can see the status, and I can also click on them to open it as well. It's on there. Like I said, work orders and route occurrences, you can drag those on the calendar to different days, and it will just automatically update the date as well for that. If a crew has a timesheet for that day, like for example here, if I take this, drag it here, it'll do this. It's going to refresh. Sorry, that timesheet's ready for approval. So it doesn't want to add it to the timesheet. The timesheet has to be in progress. The timesheet's ready for approval. It thinks it's already finished, so it won't add it to that timesheet. That's good. So you want to do that because, like, if it's ready for approval, that means that timesheet's ready for final review on there. Now, if we've gone from the queue, like I said, we found all the things we can find, or find as many as we can from the queue to add to the calendar. Again, like I said, unassigned, you can search, you can filter. there's also other ways to schedule from Manage, and I'll look at a couple other spots on here. Basically, excuse me, if I go in the production menu and go to work orders, so I have a list of work orders here. Like these are all the work orders visits that I have on there. These may be maintenance ones, these may be non-contract construction work orders as well on here. You can create different views to find specifically what you're looking for. But in here, you have two choices. You can click on the work order to open it and to schedule it from there, or you can schedule it directly from this inline editing here as well. So I can click on the date, and again, like that, click on the date, what time it's going to happen, and what crew is supposed to do it. And then I do that, and then it's telling me, oh, there's a conflict. Again, this is where the calendar becomes very useful as well. As that's fine, and close that off. If I go back to my calendar now and I refresh it for the 10th, you'll see that now I have two things that are conflicting, and I can either move this one up earlier so that one fits, and then now it's fine again, or I can adjust it other ways as well. But you can definitely get stuff onto the calendar from the main work orders page as well. Also, if I go into a maintenance job, so I go into production jobs, open up a maintenance job. In the maintenance job itself, I have two spots. I have a contracts tab here. So the contract tab shows me all the services that we have, which ones are scheduled, which one's not scheduled, when the next visit's scheduled. But each service, on the far right of each service, there's an action button. And from here, I can schedule individual visits from here as well if I want to. I can do it for time and material as needed, on demand. I can do all the schedule right from here as well. I can schedule it, and then it's going to ask me the same questions: what crew, what date and time. When I click schedule, it'll tell me if there's a conflict, and I can go check it out on the calendar if I have to as well. But you can definitely schedule from here. Now, you can also, if you want to, if you know that you're going to do, if they have a frequency, for example, here, this has a frequency, it's weekly. For these ones, you can schedule all the visits if they haven't been scheduled. You can go, instead of doing just one, you can schedule all of them, and you can schedule the entire week, yearly stretch of that. Now, next week when Jordan talks about the routing, that's a little bit more of a powerful way to handle that. Instead of going into the different jobs and schedule them, you can do it multiple jobs at the same time from the route. But you can definitely schedule any visits directly from the contracts tab of the job. Also, in the same job, if you want to explicitly schedule a specific visit, you can go into the visits tab, and also here again, it's showing you same information or similar information. You can see all of the ones that we have, makes all our 26 visits. You can see if they're scheduled or not on here. And again, just like when the work orders, this is inline editable. I can click on it and I can schedule it from here as well. And I can also assign the crew. Now, again, when we're looking at a lot of visits, I may want to filter this. I can click on the filter and I can choose a specific service, and then I can see just that service, and I can schedule that one directly as well on there. But again, it works the same way, inline editing on here. You'll notice that if it's here, like if you ever notice, why can't I reschedule something? If you hover over the date, because this thing is already, it's part of a route occurrence, and it's been scheduled as part of that occurrence as well. So it gives you good information as to why I can't just click on this and change the time on there as well for that. Now, lastly, so we looked at, again, the calendar is kind of the maintenance, the work orders, the visits. On the construction jobs, so construction jobs will also show up on the calendar. So, but basically they show up, they're a little more restrictive. They show up based on information in the general tab. So in the general tab, we have this: start, end, and crew. So if these two things are assigned, and the start, end are always going to be there because those are required fields. Now, you go to the calendar, you will see this information on the calendar. So again, the only way to change the start, end, or the crew is right from this tab, the general tab of the job. I'm going to go back to the calendar here. And if I go back to the calendar, I will now, my construction crew 3, I'll take them, and I'll get rid of these two, so it makes it a little bit easier to see. So go to the month view. Basically, you'll have them, it goes from the start to the end. Now, it does skip the weekends because in our division settings, there's a work days option in there, and if we don't click Saturday and Sunday, it'll automatically not choose those days. But you can see that basically between the start and end, it's there. Now, this is what you'll typically be seeing as well, is that when I see the jobs, As I do the timesheet will be overridden there, showing that's a timesheet. That job is on that timesheet. So timesheet, this makes time. Yep, this is correct. Your timesheet. Now, this is where, why do we have a timesheet for that day? That could be a thing to notice that, you know what, we should have a timesheet for this day because that was last Friday. Ideally, you would have the timesheets up until the future when I see the job name. Now, you'll also notice that what we've done here is that for things like this that run from between big day range, in the past, it's the same color, we just muted the color. So this is saying this is today. In the future, that's the same color, but now it's in the past. That's why it's kind of a lighter color. But again, I can pop on this. I can click on any one of these. They will show me the same, the timesheet will show me the specific timesheet there. But any one of the construction visits, the jobs there, will show me the job. I can get to the job here as well. What phase is it currently in? Again, based on what I've set, who the crew is, who the foreman is of that crew as well. And I can get that detail there also. But like I said, if I need to change the start, I need to adjust the end date of this job, I can either click here, pop on, like, and go right to here, opens a job in a new tab. I can say, okay, we've got to extend this out to the 16th, save and close on there as well. If I'm back in the calendar, I can refresh it. Now I go to the 16th, and that's it. So like I can only change the start and end date of the jobs themselves, the construction jobs, within the general tab of the job. So, okay, just to recap, calendars under the production scheduling. It's got the two panels, the crew picker, which again, you need to select some crews when you are trying to see what's on the calendar, one or many crews. And the left side of the calendar has the queue where you can find unscheduled or unassigned visits. You can search, and then you can, you know, if you want to, just drag them to the calendar or add them to the calendar by using the drop downs to say, this is what's happening on this day. Now, the end goal of doing this by scheduling these things is that when it comes time on that particular day, so let me just go to bring up these other guys again here. So when I have some visits on Friday, May 10th, when I go to make my timesheet, so the timesheet, new timesheet for May 10th, for maintenance crew 1, make a timesheet. All of the stuff that I've done scheduling the jobs, now they all show up on the timesheet here as well. And then my guys can do that. They can fill in their actual times, and then we can track that as well. So the end goal is to get these timesheets, which then create the job actuals, which feed into the reporting on there as well. So with scheduling, you can see what you have, see what we have, what we have unscheduled, and you can kind of see what the guys kind of have, what the crews have on a specific day. Because again, outside of the month, if you go into the week view, I can see the start, the tentative start and end of this on there as well. So for like the work order is supposed to stretch this long, and I can see, okay, that's going to take until about this time. It does give you an idea of how long, what they have currently assigned to them on a specific day. I can go into the individual days as well, and then kind of see across them all and see, okay, this is what they've got going on in those days also. So that's kind of what I wanted to go for today. Just like I said, again, getting things on the calendar, because at the end of the day, we want to make those timesheets, make that timesheet creation simpler because I already have the things scheduled. And then next week, Jordan's going to be talking about the routing, like I said, to kind of ties into this as well, but it's creating route so that, you know, when you go to schedule, you can schedule an entire route. You'll see it on your calendar as well for that. So I'm going to give back to Joe there for him to kind of.
Right on. Thanks, Fabio.
No problem.
So if anyone has any questions, definitely email or call us. Our email address is support@dynascape.com, or toll free, it's 1-800-710-1900. And extension 1 gets you directly to our support team. So if you have any questions, definitely send them in. We'd love to hear from you. This session has been recorded. The link has been posted here as well for everyone on the session here that have registered but weren't able to join us. You'll also get an email following the session with the link. The recording should be posted later today, and hopefully you'll be able to review it at your leisure. Next week, as Fabio alluded to, webinar number 12 in our series, and it's the ins and outs of routing. So please join us for then. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. Fabio, thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Great, thanks.